Welcome to the IELTS listening test. This test will help you in preparation for the IELTS, required in various countries around the world. Before we proceed ahead, we would like you to be apprised of the guidelines to be followed. You will hear an audio along with the questions on your screen. The questions are divided into 4 sets with different audio for each. There are a total of 40 questions. Kindly note down your answers simultaneously as you listen. Please start the test only when you are ready with the same. Hope you are ready to take the test. Let us begin the test with question set 1. There are 10 questions from 1 to 10, that needs to be answered. You will hear an audio. Now, please go through the questions from 1 to 10 before we start the audio.
Let's get started now. While hearing news or reading a business daily, we frequently come across economic data, which affects the economy. Have we ever wondered why is the data mentioned in the news? What is its importance? How does it affect the economy? Most of us ignore it, as we are not aware of them. What are this data that gives us clue about where the economy is headed? The answer is, economic indicators. Economic indicators can have a huge impact on the market, therefore, knowing how to interpret and analyze them is important for all investors. We would be well versed with it as we proceed ahead. Let us start with the meaning of an economic indicator. An economic indicator is a statistical data showing general trends in the economy. Unemployment rate, GDP, and inflation rate are a few examples of economic indicators. Economic indicators indicate how well the economy is doing, or how well the economy is going to do in the future. Investors use this information to make their investment decisions. If economic indicators suggest that the economy is going to do better than expectations, the investors can adopt an appropriate investment strategy. Economic indicators are numerous and they have their own characteristics. We classify the economic indicators as follows. The first is leading economic indicators. They are the ones which change before the economy changes. They provide insight into the economy's future state. Example, consumer confidence. The second one is lagging economic indicators. They are the ones that are believed to follow changes in the economy. They provide confirmation on the changes in the economy's state. Example, unemployment rate and corporate profits. The third is the coincident indicator. It describes the current state of the economy. They vary simultaneously as the state of the economy changes. Example, existing home sales.
Review your answers before moving to the next section. Hope you must have completed the section 1. Now, we would start with section 2 of the test. Kindly go through the questions from 11 to 20, before we proceed ahead with the audio.
Now, let us begin with section 2 of the test. Now that we have a brief background about indicators, we can move ahead towards different economic indicators across the world. We would start with US, as its role for global markets is prominent. Several U.S. economic indicators are considered important. However, we would take into consideration a few of the economic indicators. The employment data released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is referred to as BLS, includes the non-farm payroll data and the unemployment rate. Non-farm payroll is a figure compiled by BLS, representing the total number of working-age persons working in all professions, except government employees, household employees, many non-profit employees, and farm employees. Unemployment rate is the percentage of total labor force in a certain period that is unemployed but actively seeking employment and willing to work. Both the data are released on the first Friday of each month. It can be compared with the corresponding data of the same month last year. Consumer confidence in U.S. represents the level of confidence that the people have in the economic activity of U.S. It is released by two entities, University of Michigan and the Conference Board. Information for the index is compiled and released on the last Tuesday of each month by the Conference Board. Since the data is released monthly, it can be read as the rise or fall in Consumer Confidence Index. The next indicator is new home sales. It includes records sales of newly constructed residences in the United States. The figure is a timely gauge of housing market conditions, counting home sales when initial housing contracts are signed. Since new home sales usually trigger a sequence of consumption, they have significant market impact upon release. In addition to the high expenditure of the new home, buyers are likely to spend more money on furnishing, customizing, and financing their home. Consequently, growth in the housing market spurs more consumption, generating demand for goods, services, and the employees who provide them. The U.S. Census Bureau on a monthly basis releases the new home sales report.
Review your answers before moving to the next section. Hope you must have completed the section 2. Now, we would start with section 3 of the test. Kindly go through the questions from 21 to 30, before we proceed ahead with the audio.
Let us begin the section 3 of the test. Now we shall move ahead to economic indicators of another important part of world economy, Eurozone. Whenever we think about world economic slump, we saw in the past, we think about what went wrong in US. We also come across Greek crisis due to higher fiscal deficit. We know that European Union is battling the debt crisis in its peripheral Eurozone nations, and the austerity measures it has taken to overcome the crisis. United States and European Union together account for approximately 50% of the world GDP, according to CIA. Thus, if the world would want to recover completely, the recovery of EU and US is important. Hence, it is important for us to consider the economic indicators of Eurozone after discussing that of United States. We would now discuss a few of the economic indicators in Eurozone. The first is the ZEW indicator of economic sentiment is ascertained monthly. Up to 350 financial experts take part in the survey. The indicator reflects the difference between the share of analysts that are optimistic, and the share of analysts that are pessimistic, for the expected economic development in Germany in 6 months. The survey also asks for the expectations for the Eurozone, Japan, Great Britain, and the USA. It is released by Center for European Economic Research on a monthly basis. A reading above 0 indicates optimism while a reading below 0 implies pessimism. An optimistic view is considered as positive, or bullish, for the euro, whereas a pessimistic view is considered as negative, or bearish.
Review your answers before moving to the next section. Hope you must have completed the section 3. Now, we would start with section 4 of the test. Kindly go through the questions from 31 to 40, before we proceed ahead with the audio.
U.S. is world's largest economy. Any positive or negative signal from the economic indicators in U.S. has its direct or indirect impact in many parts of the world. Let us take an example. Let us consider that unemployment rate in U.S. is falling, weekly jobless claims are declining and non-farm payrolls are increasing. Demand for new homes in U.S. is on an uptrend. These signals are positive for the U.S. economy. Since the economy is expanding, inflation is expected to rise and this affects the bond markets. Rise in inflation leads to higher interest rates, which in turn leads to rise in bond yields. Many foreign countries invest in U.S. Treasuries expecting higher yields. China and Japan are the major investors in U.S. Treasuries. As per the data published by U.S. Department of Treasury, China holds $846.7 billion whereas Japan holds $821 billion worth of U.S. Treasuries as of July 2010. India's investment in U.S. Treasuries was worth $39 billion as of July 2010. When bond yields rise, it is positive for the investment of the foreign countries. So here we get a relation between a good economic data in US and the reaction in countries across the world. This is one of the ways in which markets in different parts of the world react. However, there may be various other domestic factors, which may also affect the investor's reaction. Economic indicators help many entities. It helps the policy makers in taking important decisions related to the economy's growth. It helps the industrialist in taking decisions related to his company, and it also helps the investors in making their investment decisions.
Review your answers before moving to the next section. Now that we have completed all the sections, it is time we reveal all the answers. Request you to mark correct and incorrect in your notepad where you have written down the answers. In case you have got less than your desired target, we would suggest you to retake the test once again. When you take the test again, you will realize the errors you may have come across. This will improve your score when you will take the next test. Do not forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel. We will bring you more tests for your practice.